26 terameters. Even in just 24 hours, light manages to zoom across the distance of 26 billion kilometers. That distance is further than any human or space probe has traveled. Distance from Voyager 1 to Earth, 23 terameters. Over the last 45 years, Voyager 1 has traveled to a distance of 23 billion kilometers, which is the furthest any man-made object has gone. And every day it gets 1.5 million kilometers further away. You can't really steer it, even if you stare really, 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 really hard. Distant from Comet Hale-Bopp to the Sun at its furthest, 53 terameters. The comet Hale-Bopp gets so far from the Sun, the tug of the planets changes its furthest point each visit. Arriving this time took 4,200 years and it will take another 2,400 years to make another orbit. Distance from Sedna to the Sun at distant point, 140 terameters. When Sedna is farthest from the Sun is very far away. The most distant point of an orbit to a star is called, in this case the Sun, is called the aphelion. It takes Sedna over 10,000 Earth years to complete one orbit. Distance from Proxima Centauri to Rigil Kentaurus, 1.8. 1.8 petameters. A petameter is a trillion kilometers. Proxima Centauri is very far away from Alpha Centauri A and B, Rigil Kentaurus and Ptolemy. Gomez's hamburger, 470 terameters, or 0.47 petameters. Gomez's hamburger is 900 light years away. The buns are made of reflective dust, and the patty is made of dark dust. That sounds very appetizing, isn't it? I wish I could eat it. Stingray Nebula, 1.5 petameters. The Stingray Nebula is a planetary nebula. It is relatively young and is constantly growing. Whoever named this nebula must have thought it looked like a stingray. Do you? It doesn't. Also, a sad fact. While many of the protoplanetary nebulae here grow, this one unfortunately shrinks. This is because this image was taken during a helium flash, and now it's currently shrinking. It will get smaller and smaller and smaller, meaning it will remain as the smallest nebula ever. Hourglass Nebula, 5.5 petameters. The Hourglass Nebula is actually shaped like an hourglass. As you can see, there are two lobes. The upper lobe is tilted towards us, and the bottom one is tilted away. Blinking Planetary Nebula, 4.5 petameters. The Blinking Nebula is a planetary nebula that doesn't actually blink. It just seems to appear and disappear from view. There are two red flyers, fast, low ionization emission regions on the opposite side of the nebula. Homunculus Nebula, 5.5 petameters. At the center of the Homunculus Nebula lies a star. Eta Carinae, which is the central star for the Homunculus Nebula, had a magnitude of negative 0.8 in 1841. That's because it's variable. Now is a very dim sixth magnitude star. A light year, 10 petameters. In 1 year, light travels about 9.46 trillion kilometers. This distance is known as a light year. The light year is commonly used for measuring astronomical distances, especially with nebulae and galaxies. Speaking of nebulae, Ant Nebula, 20 petameters. The Ant Nebula, which is also called MZ3 Menzel 3, is expanding 108,000 kilometers per hour. It resembles an ant, so much so it's named after the ant. For more about ants, zoom in 18 orders of magnitude. Eskimo Nebula, 15 petameters. Note, this name is very offensive to indigenous people, especially the Inuit and the Yupik. So this name is no longer used traditionally. 15 petameters. The Eskimo Nebula was discovered in 1787 and is the result of a sun-like star dying and expanding into space. It supposedly looks like the head in the hood of a parka. Another name is the Clownhead Nebula. Although I don't like clowns so much. A parsec, 31 petameters. Earth's movement causes around the sun causes nearby stars to appear to move, called parallax, not to be confused with proper motion. If a nearby star is perpendicular to the solar system and is actually 1 parsec away, its parallax will be exactly 1 arcsecond. Parallax plus arcsec equals parsec. That's a portmanteau. Ooh, it's cloud. 18 pentameters. The Oort cloud is the outermost region of the solar system. Water, ammonia, methane, ice, and comets loosely fill the region. The boundary of the Oort cloud is also the boundary of the sun's gravitational pull. Coincidence? No. Bomberang Nebula, 19 petameters. The Bomberang Nebula is very cold, only 1 degree above absolute zero. That is colder than background radiation, which is only 2.4 Kelvin. Did you know that the Bomberang Nebula is the coldest object known in the universe? Yes, I did. Now go away. Ring Nebula, 24 petameters. The Ring Nebula looks a lot like Orion. The old belief was that all planetary nebulae were ring-shaped like this one, but that is now known to be untrue. There are other shaped planetary nebulae that can be, pill, such as, well, let's get later to this one. Pillars of creation, 38 petameters. The pillars of creation lie within the Eagle Nebula. The Eagle Nebula is 7,000 light years away from us. Evidence shows that the pillars of creation will be destroyed by a supernova. Were destroyed by a supernova about 6,000 years ago. So we only have another millennium to see it. Stop showing. Distance from Sun to Proxima Centauri, 40 petameters. Proxima Centauri is the closest star to the Sun. However, it's still quite far away. 30 million suns could fit between Proxima Centauri and the Sun in a straight line. Helix Nebula, 54 petameters. The Helix Nebula is one of the closest bright planetary nebulae to Earth. It is 650 light years away from Earth. That's only 6 quadrillion kilometers. That is close, astronomically speaking. Bubble Nebula, 70 petameters. I love blowing bubbles. Blah, 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 boo. This nebula is not a bubble. It just looks like one. It was created by hot stellar wind. Oh, and it's an emission nebula, not a planetary nebula. Black Pillar, 90 petameters. This little thingy are a lot larger than Eagle Nebula. Although it appears small in comparison to the Eagle Nebula, it's still larger than the solar system by 10 to 20,000 times, depending on your definition of the solar system. Cat's Eye Nebula, 61 petameters. The Cat's Eye is one of the most complex nebulae known. Did you know that the Cat's Eye Nebula is 8,000 degrees Celsius? That's pretty hot. The outer halo is even hotter at 50,000 degrees Celsius. That's the bad thing. Horsehead Nebula, 66 petameters. The Horsehead is one of the most famous nebulae because it looks like a horse's head. It is a dark nebula in front of a glowing pink gas, which is IC 434. It was discovered in 1888. Did you like all those eggs? I did. Rotten Egg Nebula, 130 petameters. The Rotten Egg Nebula has a lot of sulfur in it. That's probably why this nebula is called the Rotten Egg Nebula. I think it looks like a raw egg, where the blue is the cracked shell and the yellow is the yolk spitting out. Cone Nebula, 80 parameters. The Cone Nebula was discovered in 1785 on the day after Christmas. Did you know that the Cone Nebula is a dark nebula and a diffuse nebula? You can find it between Betelgeuse and Procyon in the constellation of Monoceros, by the way. Crab Nebula, 110 petameters. The Crab Nebula is one of the most famous nebulae. It was also the first Messier object catalog, Messier 1. The Crab Nebula supernova was seen in 1054 AD and was so bright it could be seen during the day. It isn't even 1,000 years old. This is what makes it the brightest and the only visible supernova remnant in visible light. Second being Cassiopeia, which is much fainter visible light. Orion Nebula, 230 petameters. The Orion Nebula is one of the most visible nebulae ever. Its name suggests it lies in the constellation Orion. Did you know that bullets of gas exist in this nebula? They're called droplets. Lagoon Nebula, 330 petameters. The Lagoon Nebula is a nebula, that was named the Lagoon Nebula in 1747. The year it was discovered. It is 4,000 light years away from us and includes tornadoes that emit UV light. North America Nebula, 950 petameters. The apparent size of the North America Nebula is very large. It appears almost 4 times as large as a full moon. It's just very dim, so you know you need longer exposure times to see it. Cave Nebula, 700 petameters. The Cave Nebula is a very diffuse nebula. Of course, not. Most nebulae are as large as this one are faint, so you need long exposure times to see them. The Cave Nebula is also called Sharpless 155 or Caldwell 9. Rosette Nebula, 1.2 exameters. The Rosette Nebula is very large but very faint. It looks like a fiery rose in a rosy fire. It's approximately 5,000 light years away from us and has a mass of 10,000 suns or 3 billion Earths. Eagle Nebula, 1.2 exameters. The Eagle Nebula is a huge stellar nursery. Can you see the pillars of creation within it? Also, note that this image is based off a false color photograph by Hubble. True color is a bit more pinkish, as most large nebulae are. Omega Centauri, 1.6 exameters. Omega Centauri is a globular cluster. It is the brightest globular cluster. The center is very crowded. Stars there are 0.1 light years apart, which is 2% of the distance from our sun to the nearest star. That is very close.